The Thing Under the Bed. Chapter 1. The Midnight Whispers. Lena was used to sleeping with her dog Toby curled up beside her. On stormy nights, he often hid under the bed, scared of the thunder. One particularly stormy night, thunder rumbled through the sky, rattling her windows. Rain pelted against the glass in an unrelenting rhythm, lulling her into a restless sleep. Hours later, she stirred. A strange sensation gnawed at her consciousness, a subtle disturbance in the air. Then she heard it. Steady, slow breathing coming from underneath her bed. Her heart skipped a beat, but she quickly reassured herself. Toby must be hiding again. Half asleep, she whispered, "It's okay, Toby," and reached down to pet him. The second her fingers made contact, a cold shiver ran through her spine. It wasn't fur. It was skin. Before she could react, something tightened around her wrist. A hand, a human hand, grabbed hers with an unnatural strength. It was ice cold, the grip firm, unyielding. A low, raspy exhale escaped from beneath the bed, sending a wave of terror through her body. Lena yanked her arm back with all her might, falling backward onto the mattress. Her breathing came in rapid gasps as she stared down at the space below her bed, paralyzed with fear. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, just as she gathered the courage to move, she heard it again. A whisper. "I see you." Chapter 2. The Silent Panic. Lena's breath caught in her throat. She yanked her hand away and rolled out of bed, scrambling for the light switch. The moment the room was flooded with light, she dropped to her knees and looked under the bed. Nothing. The space under the bed was empty, the wooden floor unmarked, undisturbed. A suffocating stillness filled the room, making Lena's skin crawl. She listened carefully, her own heartbeat thudding in her ears. Had she imagined the whole thing? Maybe she was just sleep-deprived, her mind playing cruel tricks on her. Her hands trembled as she slowly turned around, scanning the room. Then her eyes fell on Toby. Sleeping soundly in the corner of the room, his tail twitching in a dream. Lena's stomach lurched. He hadn't been under the bed at all. A wave of nausea rolled through her as realization set in. If Toby was over there, then whose hand had she touched? Her breathing grew shallow as she backed toward the door, refusing to look under the bed again. A sickening feeling whispered at the back of her mind. Something had been there, and now it was gone. Her fingers fumbled at the doorknob, desperate to escape the suffocating air of her bedroom. She rushed into the hallway, her skin prickling with the sensation of unseen eyes following her. Slamming the door shut behind her, she pressed her back against it, her heart hammering wildly in her chest. For a long moment, silence stretched through the house. Then, just as she was about to convince herself that she was imagining things, she heard it. A single, quiet thump from inside her room. Something was moving. Something was still there. Chapter 3. The Scratches in the Dark. The next night, Lena couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house made her shiver. The wind outside howled through the trees, rattling the windows, and she swore she could hear distant whispers carried on the breeze. She left the lamp on, its warm glow offering her a false sense of security. But then, at exactly 2 a.m., the bulb flickered once, twice, before plunging the room into complete darkness. Lena held her breath, gripping her blanket tightly. A suffocating silence filled the air. Then she heard it. A faint scratching sound coming from beneath her bed. Her pulse quickened. At first it was soft, tentative, like someone testing the surface. Then it grew more deliberate, as if nails were being dragged across the wooden floor. Long, slow, insistent. She clenched her jaw, trying to convince herself it was just a trick of her mind. Maybe the house was settling, or a tree branch scraping against the wall. But then, the scratching changed. It wasn't random anymore. It was rhythmic. Scratch, scratch, pause. Scratch, scratch, pause. Like something was writing. Lena's breath hitched. She couldn't ignore it any longer. With a shaking hand, she grabbed her phone from the nightstand and turned on the flashlight. The dim, bluish glow illuminated the room, casting eerie shadows against the walls. Summoning every ounce of courage, she leaned over the edge of the bed and slowly lowered her phone, aiming the light underneath. At first, she saw nothing but darkness. Then her eyes focused on the deep claw marks gouged into the floorboards. Long and jagged, as if something had been dragging its nails against the wood over and over again. A chill crawled down her spine. Her stomach twisted as she realized the scratches formed letters. They spelled a single phrase: "I see you." And then a whisper right next to her ear. "I'm still here." Lena screamed. Chapter 4: The Open Closet. Lena refused to sleep in her room. She told her parents, but they laughed it off, blaming nightmares. They reassured her that it was just stress or an overactive imagination. Frustrated but too exhausted to argue, she stayed in the living room that night, keeping Toby close. The warmth of his body pressed against her side was the only thing keeping her from completely unraveling. But deep down she knew something was wrong. At around 3 a.m., a faint noise stirred her awake, a slow, deliberate creaking. Her pulse pounded in her ears as she turned her head toward the hallway. Her bedroom door was opening on its own. A shadow stretched across the floor, long and unnatural in the dim moonlight. Toby lifted his head, his ears perked. Then a low growl rumbled from his throat. His body tensed as he fixated on the darkened room beyond the doorway. Lena swallowed hard. She didn't want to move, didn't want to look. But an icy sensation slithered down her spine, compelling her to act. Her fingers fumbled for her phone, and with trembling hands she turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the inside of her bedroom. The closet door, which she always kept shut, was now wide open. Her breath hitched. The closet was a black void, empty, yet somehow not empty at all. The air around it seemed heavier, pressing down on her chest like unseen hands. Toby's growl deepened, his body rigid, ready to pounce. Then, the temperature in the room dropped. A whisper, faint, distant, drifted from the open closet, curling into her ears like cold fingers brushing against her skin. "Come closer." Lena didn't move, couldn't move. The closet door, as if sensing her hesitation, creaked open just a little wider. Something was in there, watching, waiting. Chapter 5. The Hand That Pulled Her In. The next night, Lena's parents let her sleep in their room. She curled up between them, desperate for the comfort of their presence. But even with their steady breathing beside her, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was still in hers. As the night stretched on, shadows twisted in her mind, keeping her awake. Every creak of the house, every distant rustle of wind outside sent her nerves spiraling. The warmth of her parents should have grounded her, but instead, she felt watched. Then, just before sunrise, it happened again. Breathing, not from under the bed this time, from the closet. The sound was slow, deliberate. The heavy inhale of something that did not belong in this world. Lena's stomach churned as an overwhelming sense of dread coiled around her. She turned her head toward the bedroom door, her limbs frozen with fear. She had closed her bedroom door before coming here, yet now it was slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness spilling into the hallway. Heart hammering, she forced herself to sit up. Toby, who had been resting near the foot of the bed, let out a low whimper, his tail tucked between his legs. Lena swallowed hard and climbed out of bed. Her feet touched the cold wooden floor, sending chills up her spine. She tiptoed toward the door, each step feeling like she was walking toward an unseen abyss. The hallway was eerily silent, suffocating in its stillness. She reached her bedroom door and hesitated. The breathing from inside was louder now, labored. Waiting. Slowly, she reached for the doorknob, pushing the door open just a little wider. Her flashlight cast long, flickering shadows across the room, making the corners seem deeper, darker than they should have been. Her gaze locked onto the closet. The door was wide open, and inside, nothing but pitch-black darkness. A void so deep it seemed to swallow the light. Her pulse thundered. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to run, but before she could move, something lunged. A pair of hands, cold, skeletal, impossibly strong, shot out from the darkness, grabbing her wrists. Their grip was like ice, burning and unrelenting. She screamed, thrashing, trying to yank herself free, but the hands pulled harder. Her feet slid against the floor as she was yanked forward. The last thing she saw was the soft glow of morning light creeping in from her window before the closet door slammed shut. The house fell silent.